Oh, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, we have many stuff and things to talk about, including upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. I'm going to talk to you about a shout out that I received from a YouTube channel that I found very surprising. I'll get into that story a little bit. We have to talk a little bit about the Seahawks and Russell Wilson. Also maybe the Mariners a little bit, Seattle sports stuff. And then a question that somebody asked me, actually several people have asked me recently, about why I don't get into current events, world events, tragedies, disasters, things that have been going on in the world. Why don't I discuss those very much on the channel? And then of course, we have your questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings. So let's get into it. All right, so before we get into upcoming videos, I just wanted to mention, I have changed the angle of this camera a little bit because someone was telling me it's much more flattering if the camera is slightly above you. So hopefully this looks okay. I don't know if any of you will even notice this, but this is just kind of for my own amusement, changing things around a little bit, but upcoming videos. So I just recorded, took a while too, but I just recorded the timeless style video for these, the CHISOS #1 in brushed brown leather, but the timeless style video is about the cowboy boot. And I go into the history of the cowboy boot a little bit. I talk a little bit about circumstances in which you could wear it, how you might want to wear it, and then I go into specifics about this particular cowboy boot, the CHISOS #1, a boot I absolutely love. Just to remind you, CHISOS did provide me with these boots so I could review them. It's interesting, I guess, you know, just for FCC reasons you have to say that, but I wanted these boots. Like, I probably would have bought them if they hadn't given them to me. I researched a lot when I wanted to do the cowboy boots video online. I researched all sorts of different manufacturers, and I wanted the CHISOS. And the fact that they actually gave them to me for me to review was absolutely generous and amazing. I guess they're a newer company. They've only been around since 2019 and they want to get the word out, but the word should get out because these boots are absolutely fantastic. So be sure to watch the timeless style video that will be on this Wednesday about cowboy boots in general and the CHISOS #1 in particular. Then of course we have the Elden Ring series continuing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Stuff and Things Plays. If you have not watched the Pure Syrian Latakia video that I posted last Wednesday, please do that as well. And then of course the Timeless Style series. We have done the Barracuda Harrington jacket and the Ray-Ban Wayfarer sunglasses thus far, so check that out. Thank you. Okay, so couple days ago, I was looking through my comments on my YouTube dashboard, and I noticed I was getting several comments saying similar things. And they were saying, hey, Ben Dean sent me. Hey, I'm here because of Ben Dean. Really looking forward to seeing what your content is like. Hey, Ben Dean, Ben Dean. It's like, Ben Dean? Ben Dean? What is Ben Dean? It sounded vaguely familiar, but I'll tell you why it sounded vaguely familiar in a moment. And at first I thought, maybe this is spam, like maybe there's a YouTube channel where they get bots to leave comments and they mention the YouTube channel, and then people, when they see those in the comments, they'll click on the YouTube channel. But then I looked up Ben Dean and I found that it is an actual channel and that they're a person, I believe Korean American, I'm not sure, but they're living in Korea and they post videos, I guess technically mukbang, the eating videos. I don't know really anything about that, but he seems to review food, I guess, for the most part. But he has over 1 million subscribers. And I was like, did this person actually shout me out? And if so, how and why would someone living in Korea reviewing food know anything about me and my channel? I mean, that's just part of the weirdness and the amazingness. The amazing part about a lot of things I don't like about YouTube, but one of the great things about YouTube is that You can connect with people all over the world with disparate interests, and it's just really cool. You never know who's watching. And so I went and clicked on his latest video, and I started watching. I was like, okay, this is interesting. He's eating pizza. And then got to the end, and he did. He shouted out Stuffin' Things. And he said that he had been watching my channel and that he really liked it. And he recommended that people go and check it out. And I was very surprised. And it was very cool. I left a nice comment thanking him. And then I thought, and I realized, wait, Ben Dean. And I went and looked back over my super chats, and I realized that he had left me a $50, or not super chat, a super thanks, a $50 super thanks on last week's, I think it was last week's Sunday Stuffin' Things, or maybe it was the week before. And he had asked a question along with the super thanks, and I had answered it on the Sunday Stuffin' Things. So hopefully, Ben Dean, if you're watching, you saw that. Thank you very much again for your generosity with that super thanks, and thank you so much for the shout out. That's so cool. I just love how, who knows what people are into and how they come across the videos, but it's just so cool to see people from all over the world with all sorts of different interests watching. And yeah, that was cool. So if anyone is here from Ben Dean, I don't know if my content is the kind of thing that you want to watch or not, but welcome. Hopefully you will enjoy it and you'll stick around. Okay. I think before the football season started, I was saying that, yes, I would still be watching the Seahawks, but I was annoyed with them for getting rid of Russell Wilson, and I didn't think they would do very well, and I probably wasn't going to talk about them much on the channel this season. But if you've paid any attention to the NFL, and it is the only sport I ever pay any attention to at all, you can't help but notice that the Seahawks are 2-2 in their division, along with the Rams and the Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. I think everyone is still at 2-2 right now. Or no, wait a minute. Has week 5 started yet? I can't even remember. Last time I paid attention, everyone was 2-2, which I found funny. Geno Smith, the kind of perpetual backup quarterback, is actually playing pretty well. And then when you compare it to how Russell Wilson is doing on the Broncos, he's doing really well. Wilson has, I think, only 1 touchdown maybe through 4 games. I can't remember exactly what his stats are, but they are much worse than Geno Smith's. And a lot of stuff has been coming out about how Russell Wilson is just kind of a pain in the ass. I don't know if any of that stuff is true. I don't know if he is really on this downward slope now as far as his career and his performance, but I do find it kind of funny, and I'm not hoping that he does poorly. I still appreciate the fact that he won a Super Bowl with the Seahawks, our only Super Bowl, but it is kind of funny that Geno Smith is doing much better than Russell Wilson, and that the Seahawks record is very similar to the Broncos record, when I think everyone thought that the Broncos would be much better this year and that the Seahawks would be really just scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as performance. That still might be the case. There's a lot of the season left, but it's kind of funny. Kind of funny. And I'm kind of enjoying this year. It's sort of like no expectations, so anything that happens is a bonus. And that's fun. So you have to be pretty much living in a cave as a hermit not to have heard about all the stuff that's been going on for years now. I mean, there's always something horrible going on in the world, but it seems as though, especially in the last couple years, that the awfulness is just being compounded and piled on. And I know a lot of that is due to the fact that we just have this 24-hour news cycle. Everyone's online, everyone is connected, and so there has to be content pumped into you at all times, and the things that get the clicks are the things that make you freaked out or that frighten you. I understand all that, but you know, we have had a global pandemic. We have had Russia invading Ukraine. We just had a crazy hurricane in Florida. We have the protests in Iran, like all these things going on. And a few people have asked me, you know, it seems kind of weird that you can just do your Sunday videos and not mention any of these things happening in the world. Like, don't you care about these things? And of course, I care about these things. In fact, I think I did mention, you know, I mentioned some things about the pandemic as that was going on or as it was sort of ramping up. I did mention Ukraine once or twice. On the whole, though, I think that I'm taking it for granted that most of you out there are informed about these things, these events going on in the world. And I don't think you need me to tell you about them. You know they're happening. And I don't think you need to know my opinion about them or my opinions about them necessarily. I think for the most part, and this is no hard and fast rule, you know, it just depends on how I'm feeling on whatever particular day that I happen to be recording. I don't feel the need to comment on these things. And I think most of you appreciate that. There are other places you can go to hear commentary on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, for instance, or on the tragedy of the hurricane in Florida, or the tragedy of a woman being killed in custody in Iran because part of her hair was showing under her hijab. So we all have our own opinions on these things. I think for the most part, we would all have similar opinions about these things. And I don't think you need me to talk about these things, probably. Unless there was just this groundswell of people asking for my opinion on a particular subject. For the most part, I'm gonna keep things kind of light, kind of fun, kind of breezy. This is about, the Sunday Stuff and Things video is about channel news, things that we're working on the channel, little tidbits from my life, stuff about the pipe hobby. That's kind of what this is for. And hopefully most of you are here for that. Let me know if that's not the case. One thing about having the camera higher is that I have to crane my neck to look up at it. But that's fine. We'll see if this works when I edit this. But now, gang, it is time for hashtag askstuffandthings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, tweet at SAT Bradley with the hashtag askstuffandthings. Or you can write to me via Patreon and go right to the front of the line if you have a question. You can also leave me comments on YouTube with your feedback, questions, observations, all that good stuff. I read every comment and I try to pick out the good questions and the feedback. So first, via YouTube, we have a question from Michael Case. Michael says, I think you said that you have interest in fountain pens. If true, do you watch YouTube videos on them? And if so, what are some of your favorites? I have certainly watched YouTube videos about fountain pens in the past. Usually it will be, if I am interested in a certain pen, I will just search for that pen on YouTube and then see if people have videos reviewing them. There are people like Goulet Pens. I watch some of their content. They're also trying to sell the pens though, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. I'm trying to think of any other like fountain pen people. There was that guy, I think he was Swedish or something, SBRE Brown from the back in the day, but there isn't anyone specifically who I watch consistently. But thank you for the question. Next, from Joshua Smith. Has Cornell and Diehl ever contacted you about collaborating on a blend? I would bet a lot of the YTPC would buy a tin to S along. Another idea would be for you to be a guest panel member on their Mystery Tea Blend series on YouTube. Or you could be the Inquisitor. I know I'd enjoy those things. Anyone else? Interesting idea, Joshua. I have never been in contact with Cornell and Diehl, and they have never been in contact with me. I guess that's saying the exact same thing. I don't know. There are certain legalities about that. I don't know if they're allowed to sponsor people. I guess doing a collaboration, like, I don't know. I don't know how all that works. I just know that most people who are in the tea business don't seem super keen to collaborate with people. Maybe that's just me assuming something based on the fact that no one has tried to collaborate with me, but that's how it seems. But interesting ideas. Next, we have some feedback from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This one is from Scottum. He left a super thanks, so he goes to the front of the line, and Scottum says, thank you for the super thanks, by the way, Scottum. Subtitles. So I was gave a little mini rant on why some people seem to think that subtitles are too difficult and don't like watching subtitled films. I might have been a creep, but that's kind of how I feel. Scottum says, subtitles. The only issue I have is if it blocks any necessary screen footage. I find no issues with the reading portion at all, so I suppose a bit film dependent. Yeah, that can be annoying sometimes where sometimes some subtitled films, or maybe it's just auto-generated by whatever streaming service you have, sometimes they put it like right in the middle of the screen, and I find that kind of weird. So it doesn't ruin it for me, but I certainly would appreciate it if they were lower and not taking up screen real estate. Next, from Todd Barstow. I think maybe you were onto something when you say maybe it takes practice to watch a movie with subtitles. I haven't given it much of a chance. In my very limited experience, I felt like I was missing something in the movie because I was too focused on reading the words. Yeah, I think maybe I have been doing it for so long that it's just second nature for me. And if I were to put myself in the shoes of someone who never watches subtitled films, then maybe there would be an adjustment period. But I really do feel it would only take a few films for almost anyone to feel comfortable with watching subtitled films. I think if people are put off by it, they don't want to try it, and then since they never try it, it's always kind of a chore. My opinion. Next, from Lefterus5. I agree with you about subtitles. I live in Greece, where every not Greek movie is broadcast with subtitles, and so we get used to them. On the other hand, in many European countries, such as Germany or Italy, they dub the movies a lot. As a kid, I remember watching satellite TV in channels like RAI Uno, or the German SAT1, etc. And it was so funny to watch actors like John Wayne speak Italian, or Bogey talking with Lauren Bacall in the German language. Greetings from Athens, Lefteris. Thank you, Lefteris. And yeah, I do think that's funny, especially in Germany, because so many Germans speak English well. You would think that they would either just do subtitles or not bother with the dubbing. But I know I've definitely heard of people who speak English as a second language who said it really helped to watch languages not dubbed, but in their native language. Not their native language, but in English with subtitles. Next, from Paragon Piper. Better, I definitely subjective? Oh, better is, I think he meant is. Better is definitely subjective. If someone doesn't like a bold Latakia taste, then sure, it's better. But they're just different. I found it a bit sweeter, definitely more subtle. So he's talking about Syrian Latakia versus Cyprian Latakia. And speaking of Syrian Latakia, on the video I posted last week talking about Essing, almost slipped up there, pure Syrian Latakia, KDS471 says, Syrian is more incensey, in my opinion. And I definitely agree with that. Paragon Piper again says, back before I was able to snag a couple ounces of Syrian Latakia, I took a tin of HH, I'm assuming vintage Syrian, and picked out every tiny ribbon of Latakia from the blend. Hours of tedium, but well worth it. It's a gem. What did you do with it afterwards? Did you have like a jeweler's loop and tweezers to get all that out of there? That's crazy. Crazy, man. And finally, Christ Tiger 66 says, well described, Bradley. My favorite Syrian lat blend will always be McClelland Tudor Castle. I still have about 10, it says 10 minutes left, but I'm assuming you mean 10 tins left. And okay, there's a lot going on here. I may smoke it during the holidays now. It will be greatly missed when it's gone. And I wanted to ask you guys out there, thank you for the comment, Christ Tiger 66. Do you have other favorite blends that used to have Syrian Latakia? Are there any blends that you're aware of that still have Syrian Latakia in them? I would love to know that. I know that, I'm trying to think of all the blends I've had that had Syrian. Artisans used to have it, doesn't anymore. Vintage Syrian obviously used to have it, can't get it anymore. But yeah, let me know in the comments if there are other blends that you can think of. And gang, now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. If you would like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, and it is super appreciated. Helps pay for the equipment that I'm using, the fancy camera, the lights that are shining upon me, blends and other products for review, and it goes a long way towards offsetting some of the cost of running this channel. And it's much appreciated. And every week we shout out the people who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Kirk Crompton, Glenn, Jason Buckner, Gloria Phillips, MDoftheNorth, David Gaudreau, Nick Papageorgio, John Tice, and Ryan McFadin. And of course the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month. Bob Magee and Ashes of the Phoenix, and of course, we will still shout out our good friend Peter Straub, who is unfortunately passed away and is no longer able to support the channel, but I would still like to shout him out because he supported the channel so generously for so long. Thank you all for all of your support. Please be sure to subscribe, to like, do all that good stuff. Next week, or this coming week, CHISOS #1 Timeless Style Cowboy Boots video. Spent a lot of time working on this. I actually tried to drive around and find some areas where I could film and kept being interrupted by all manner of people. Children riding bicycles, dogs running in. I actually had a dog come and grab one of my boots while I was trying to film something at one point. So hopefully you will appreciate that video when it comes out this Wednesday. And then of course, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Stuff and Things plays the continuing adventures of Kevin the Kurt. But until next time, until we meet again, I'm your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.